Hi everyone, this is Timothy Mon, the founder of this YouTube channel, A Key to Spain. Now, if you haven't watched any of my videos before, what I do is I document my life here in Spain as an American citizen and immigrant. Also, the purpose of this channel is to show you Spain and perhaps convince you to come here as a tourist or perhaps to move here like I did after falling in love with this beautiful, amazing country. Now, as a quick disclaimer, I am not an attorney. I'm not a certified lawyer. Rather, this video is purposely for educational or informational purposes only. And in this video, I will not be talking about taxes or apartment hunting. So this video is about the 7 ways that you, as an American citizen, can move to Spain. Let's go. So the first way to move to Spain as an American is if you already have EU dual citizenship by descent. So many European countries, as you can see here, where my mouse is, offer citizenship by descent. What does this mean? It means that if you are born in the United States and your parent, grandparent, in some cases great-grandparent or further back were born in one of these countries, and that means you can claim citizenship from them by descent. For example, Slovakia offers Slovakian Americans citizenship by descent from a Slovak great-grandparent or sooner. And what this would mean is that if you were to become a Slovak citizen, you could move to Spain very easily. You have freedom of movement in Spain. It would just be as simple as registering as a resident. In other words, you would get to avoid visa bureaucracy entirely. But even if you are eligible for EU citizenship, but you don't have it yet, and you just want to move to Spain as soon as possible, then yeah, keep watching. Another way to go to Spain is the second way, which is a student visa. Most Americans who I've talked to move to Spain because they were doing a study abroad. And that's the most common way to move. As I said, it is renewable, so you can renew it again. But no, this does not lead to citizenship. Any time spent in Spain as a student on a student residence permit does not count as real residency and therefore does not count towards citizenship at all. So method number 3 is when you move to Spain as the spouse of a European Union citizen. So if you're 100% American, your spouse is an EU member citizen. In other words, your spouse has Polish, Italian, Spanish, Irish, etc. citizenship, then you can move with him or her to Spain and you have really strong residency rights. You basically have permanent residence in Spain in a certain sense, almost like you've got a green card. So this is actually the strongest and easiest and fastest way to move to Spain, apart from being an EU citizen yourself. Again, if you have a spouse who is a European Union citizen. Number 4 is the non-lucrative visa. And this is basically shorthand for a retirement visa where you're just living off of passive income. You have retirement funds, so like a 401k, Roth IRA, or you've got large savings like, you won the lottery or you've worked a long time in your life. This would be for you. Note that you are not allowed to work at all in Spain. And even though Spain in general is much cheaper than the United States in some ways, it is very easy to burn through your money in this wonderful country. The good news is that it is renewable. Number 5, the 5th way to move to Spain is if you get the digital Nomad visa. So who actually can apply for this as an American? There are some people who say that W-2s are not eligible for the digital Nomad visa because of the Social Security certificate, but that's largely not true anymore. I was able to move to Spain as a W-2 employee from the United States. But generally, a lot of Americans who I've seen move to Spain are 1099 contractors or freelancers or W-2 employees like myself who are able to do their job remotely. So in your work contract, when you submit your work contract to the Spanish government to apply for this visa, you have to make sure that your work allows you to actually do your job remotely. In other words, your employer has to give you explicit permission to do your job remotely. Again, I'm going to actually do a whole video on the digital Nomad visa by itself. But the good news is that this visa actually does lead to citizenship because it is legal Spanish residency. And it is renewable around every 3 years. I got mine in 2025, and then I'm going to be able to renew my digital Nomad visa in 2028. And I personally believe that this is the best option for younger Americans, younger as in younger than 65, like pre-retirement age. So Americans, if you're in your 20s, 30s, 40s, 50s, this is probably going to be the best visa for you to move to Spain while being able to earn money. So number 6, I want to talk about working in Spain as an employee, not as a remote employee for an American company like I just discussed, but actually working for a Spanish company. So here's the thing. There's some people who tell me, oh, I can just go to Spain and find a job. Well, unfortunately, it's just not that easy. Spain has a relatively high unemployment rate. It is generally very difficult for Americans, especially those who don't speak Spanish fluently, to get a job here. Really, a lot of the Americans I've seen who work in Spain, like at like a sort of 9 to 5, if you want to put it that way, are generally Americans who are working as English teachers or English professors. Now, there are some exceptional cases where Americans have been able to get a job because they work for a multinational company and their company sends them to the Spanish location, or they end up getting sponsored by an employer because they're just exceptionally skilled or talented. But again, that takes a lot of honestly luck and a lot of bureaucracy on the part of the employer, so they probably would be less inclined to hire you. I don't mean to be a Debbie Downer, but this is just largely the truth when it comes to moving to Spain as a US citizen. And finally, I'd like to go ahead and discuss method number 7, the 90-day and 180-day period rule. So what does this mean? It means that you're basically just living part-time in Spain as a tourist. There's no visas, no residence permits. So the downside here is that this cannot lead to any legal residency or citizenship. But the good news is that you get to avoid Spanish taxes, which can be quite high depending on your income and assets. And this is really only apt if you want to live in Spain for part of the year. Like one of my family members, for example, she is interested in, once she becomes semi-retired, she wants to take a yearly sabbatical in Spain for 30 days. 30 days a year. So at that point, it's just as simple as getting, a spot, a home, or long-term Airbnb and just staying here for 30 days and then leaving after 30 days. There's no issue doing that at all. And then this here is a Visa Schengen calculator where you can calculate the number of days you're in the Schengen area, which refers to the European Union states on continental Europe who have a border agreement, meaning like Spain, France, Poland, etc. The case in point of this video is not that Spain is terribly difficult to move to. It's just rather you should know which category you fall into, and then from there the confusion starts to dissipate. And so I hope you liked this video, and if you want more content about Spain or my life in Spain, please go ahead and subscribe. See you guys later. Bye.